Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Strange Times Poetry Broadcast. I'm so glad that you're joining me here live at the Poetry Bookshelf. Um, I'm bringing to you three uplifting poems, one by a famous poet, one by a friend, and one by myself. And if you haven't seen Strange Times broadcast before, or if you would like to, if you want to catch up on our archive, if you want to know when new episodes are airing, please like us on Facebook, Strange Times Poetry Broadcast, to get all that information and more awkward times. So tonight I'm going to be reading three poems that deal with the theme of protection. How do we protect ourselves? And I don't necessarily mean from the physical elements, but more like how we protect our minds, how we keep ourselves at peace in a really difficult time. And what do we protect? What do we hold dear? And how do we do that um, in in a healthy way? Because I think this time kind of it shines a light on what we hold dear, and I find that it reminds me to when it's coming to people to connect with them, and that's how I protect it. But there's other ways as well. Um, and in terms of like protecting yourself, what boundaries do you need to make? What things do you need to do? And what helps? So the first poem I'm going to read is The Copper Beech, spelled with two E's, by Marie Howe. It's not in this book, but this is a great book by Marie Howe, who is a wondrous poet. And this is from Persea Books. You should check it out. But there's lots. She's also written a couple of other books, and they're all stunning. And this poem is very simple, and I think it's about. There's a couple different ways that the speaker is protective in this poem, and gets protection. Um, I'll read to you, and then I'll talk a little more about it. The Copper Beech. Immense entirely itself, it wore that yard like a dress, with limbs low enough for me to enter it and climb the crooked ladder to where I could lean against the trunk and practice being alone. One day I heard the sound before I saw it. Rain fell, darkening the sidewalk. Sitting close to the center, not very high in the branches, I heard it hitting the high leaves, and I was happy, watching it happen without it happening to me. So, first of all, I love the image of the tree and sort of its protectiveness. It's immense, it wears the yard as a dress. I feel like there's certain people that command that in their presence. And the speaker can enter, it can be in there and practice being alone, which I think is so interesting because why does being alone need practice? And then, or maybe it's the type of being alone. And it seems like so good in this poem, like something so important, something you might want to protect, being alone. Um, I saw an interview with an astronaut who just came back to Earth. So she was in space for 11 months and now she's here. She hasn't been able to go outside in a long time. And she said that her advice was to try and cherish the things that each specific situation brings and that you would miss when it's over, and trying to find those things. And so maybe practicing being alone is one of those things that we get to cherish or protect from this time. And then I love the idea of being happy because watching the rain happen without it happening to me. I mean, there's some distance there, so maybe it could be a little cynical in some ways, like, oh well, as long as it's not happening to me, something that's difficult or affecting out of the control of the speaker makes me happy if I can watch it but not be affected by it. But then maybe it's also about being able to put that space, have something creating that space between things that happen and what happens to you. And there's some protection there as well. Food for thought. All right, the next poem is by August Smith, who is a friend from UMass Boston. This is one of his many books, Mario Kart 64. This poem I don't think is in Mario Kart 64, but I would recommend looking up August's website. His poetry is unique, silly, and it just brings in things that you would never imagine being in a poem. And I think the sort of protection in this poem is the sense of humor. In some ways, it does push away a little bit, or it kind of lets go of things that are difficult. And sometimes that can be protective for the good, and sometimes that can be a little bit coping. But I think in some ways, we all just need to cope a little bit, and it's okay. We have to allow ourselves to use our coping mechanisms if we need to. It's science. Every cigarette shortens your life by 11 minutes. Scientists are saying this. They're also saying every mango you eat increases your lifespan by 18 minutes. Their studies continue. Witnessing a lavender sunset sets you forward a whole half hour, and streaming too much amateur pornography knocks you back a solid year. It's true, more discoveries. If you're camping, all values are doubled, a bonus multiplier. Heartbreak has a randomizing effect, recalculating your death day according to factors like cloud patterns and eye color. A warm stack of pancakes, interestingly enough, adds 2 whole days to your life, but not good ones. Learning ukulele kills a week, no one knows why. Things get weird. People start keeping track of their allotments with apps and booklets. Death days slide around like obsidian marbles. A woman in Tulsa has arithmeticked her demise to tomorrow and keeps sliding it forward one day at a time, dangling it ahead of her like a ruby amulet. A man in Munich claims to have achieved immortality. He tells reporters, just wait and see. The wealthiest maximize their benefits. Skydiving over an ocean, for example, adds 3 months. Do that twice a year. Do that twice while camping, and that's a whole year. Funerals feature scorecards. Phones chime 8-bit death knells. Longevity grows glamorous and perverted. Third world poor are harvested for their authentic moments. Banks openly deal in life force as an ad hoc currency, and even still, people die. Everyone dies. You slip, you fall, you forget. Scientists are saying all of this. Why? Are they just bored? Do they think they're being helpful? Can't they process the horrors of their relentless progress? At this, even the most ardent researcher must stand up, excuse herself, step outside for a smoke. So I love how August just kind of pokes at the ironies in many of his poems. And I just love, yes, the idea of sort of taking something that we say all the time, eat the Mediterranean diet, it'll extend your life, and just kind of getting into what that's really playing with, which is kind of protection from this unknown, from death, and how to take that to the extreme in kind of ridiculous way, but then in a way that at the same time the poem is being protective in its ridiculousness. It sort of makes you laugh at this, at something that's actually kind of scary. And even the ardent researcher must stand up, excuse herself, step outside for a smoke. Sometimes you just have to step away for a moment to handle all of this. But yeah, that poem is a lot of fun. So if only uplifting for its sarcasm, it's a good one. All right. And my last poem tonight is All Those Houses. And it's about the little, the osprey nests, sort of by houses that are on the water. And that sort of you can exist alongside them, but you can't touch them. You can't go to their places. I think it's more of a protection of what we hold dear, that they should still be there, that they should still have their place. But there's also, so they're sacred in a way, and that sacredness also creates kind of a division, or, the divide between people and the birds, and how you can be near each other but not quite touching. All those houses. All those houses by the salt marsh, you can only boat up to them. Ripe blue water and the high marshes, yellowed tines. Houses on stilts and metal perches for ospreys, just out of reach if you don't have gray wings. Don't visit. Visit every day. Wade through fields, pull ticks from your heels, your body in the water, your mouth heaving, a big O of a laugh like a child. You'll still never enter all those houses where the ospreys collect reeds and wail into the night. This wasn't meant for you. Yeah, so just that divide again. by meaning, what do we protect? Sometimes protection is keeping apart, if only for a moment. And that's how we're protecting each other right now. Thank you for joining me. I hope you stay safe and stay sane. Good night. Bye.